Welcome to Gear Taster Radio, where we offer an in-depth look into the usage and philosophy behind the equipment in our lives. I am joined today by Rob Henderson.
Hello.
And I can't say as always because there wasn't as always.
Yeah.
I did that interview last
one. So there
time
we go.
with Rifles Only.
We're done saying that.
Yeah. I'm
there in
joined
spirit.
by Rob Henderson. And I'm Bryan Black. And today we're going to talk about some gear that I came back with and used during a recent precision rifle class. So I thought it might be a good way to kind of evaluate what I took in terms of kind of what we always talk about, which is kind of the 3 Ps of packing, as well as, you know, the 3 piles that you make when you come back from something, where you have the pile of things that you used and definitely needed to take. You've got the pile of stuff you came back with that you didn't use whatsoever and probably didn't need to take. And then there's the pile of stuff that you used that you know that you potentially weren't going to use it, but it was kind of mandatory that you take it. So that's kind of how I'm kind of evaluate some stuff today. And I also picked up some more gear and that I bought at the pro shop from Rifles Only when I was down there for the course. So I'll talk about a few of those things too.
So you did the vacation thing where you left some room to come back with extra stuff.
I always have room to come back with extra stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much. Plus I drove, so it wasn't too bad. I mean, they're down south of San Antonio in Kingsville, Texas, and they're really a premier training facility for, government, law enforcement. Pretty much anybody who's anybody in the precision rifle world has been down there to train with them. It's just it's an amazing facility, and the amount of things that they can do down there on site is just amazing. There's tons of land. They also run a competition every year down there called the Brawl. Used to be the Bushnell Brawl, but now it's just the Rifles Only Brawl. But that's something I'd love to go down there and shoot.
That sounds very intimidating.
Yeah. They've basically got a bunch. It's almost kind of like an obstacle course too. So you're shooting from all these different awkward positions, and that's really what precision rifle training is all about. I mean, anybody can get down on a shooting mat and shoot a long gun, but it's having the fundamentals so under control that you can shoot in non-standard positions. Like, I mean, we shot off a rope in an old abandoned helicopter. It was really cool stuff. So, and that's really where the fundamentals come into play, and that's a large part of what they teach down there. So the course is kind of a hybrid. I went down there with some buddies, so we were kind of able to not only all be mostly repeat students, so we didn't have to hammer the fundamentals as much, but they're still so important. I mean, even in review. So, a lot of that stuff was going over there. We started by shooting 100-yard and kind of checking our zero and things like that, as well as then getting dope all the way from 300 out to 1,000. So it's pretty cool. I mean, I made successive shots with my 6.5 Creedmoor at 1,000 yards. Granted, I was prone, but I was just, ringing the steel at 1,000 over
prone
and
or
over
not,
and over again.
it's
Yeah,
still a
it
good
was
thing to
pretty
be able
cool,
to hit.
man. Yeah, the 6.5 is just, I like the Creedmoor personally. I mean, we had a discussion about different calibers and rifles as they sit, but I have a gun that was built by Accurate Ordnance out of Georgia that got custom built for me, and I really love the thing. It's a laser beam. I can't say enough good things about it. A lot of people have been moving to more 6mm, but I really like the 6.5 round. I'm kind of old-fashioned in the way that when I find something that I really like, I tend to stick with it rather than bouncing around through a lot of different things. So, I mean, and that's one of the things they talked about there is that when you find something that works, stick with it. You don't want to have multiple rifles you're shooting because you want that, not necessarily muscle memory, but you want that ability to, have your hand the same way each time.
Keep like a standard operating procedure.
Yeah, and when you jump around from different guns, you kind of you have to not necessarily retrain yourself, but they were saying in that last episode we did, and I think they were talking about the neural pathways are really what you're developing. So when that is able to be the same over and over again, that's kind of how muscle memory works, if you will. But, to kind of focus on the gear side, the ammo that I was using is a Hornady Match. It's a 140 grain ELD. It stands for Extreme Long Distance Match, but they changed the box not too long ago. I've been shooting this for a long time now. I shot a little less than 200 rounds this time. Well, actually, no, I shot 220 because I took 440 rounds, came back with 221, so not quite 220, but around there. But I've probably now put maybe under 1,000 rounds through this gun, I'd say, in all. It's definitely probably still under 1,000. And, rebarreling sometimes happens with these between, 3,000 some odd rounds or something like that. So, anyhow, I really like the ammo. I wouldn't, necessarily change anything about that. I know that Hornady does make, I think, a 143 grain or 145 grain now, but I'm not really looking to change because I feel like I've got good dope in a lot of different environments on this ammo, and I'm really not looking to change ammo. It's always done good for me. However, I did have a problem with mags this time. So
Interesting.
Accurate Ordnance, no, not Accurate Ordnance.
Is it AI?
Yeah, I just can't remember.
Accuracy International?
Thank you. Yeah. Accuracy International makes exceptional mags, and I will probably only be buying Accuracy International mags from here on out because I had find it real quick. Bouncing around everywhere here. Hold on. I had a 10-round mag here. I have stuff everywhere. Here it is. All right, so I had this Accurate mag is what it's called. And I drop kicked it once and wanted to stop using it, and I borrowed somebody else's 10-round mag because what was happening is that as the rounds would get down in number, so I obviously loaded 10 to start, but as it got down to like 2 to 3 rounds, it was failing to strip them off the magazine to load. And I tried to see if that was just an issue of loading them the wrong way, so meaning like the back of the cartridge wasn't pressed down enough to give it enough lift to go in as the bolt came forward. But I'm tired of messing with it. It's the same kind of thing that I ran into with those Magpul 308 mags. So I'm just going to stop using them.
Sounds like the follower might have been binding or something.
Yeah, it's possible. Again, there could be a lot of different situations, but I know I've never had a problem with AI mags, and I'm probably just going to stick with those. So that's something I need to do now is get a new 10-round mag. But
it's good to know that that's the change you can make.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of times when there is a malfunction, it's like first thing you swap is the mag. And if it doesn't change it, then you can figure something else out.
Well, and that's what I love about going to classes, too, is because you shake down and find out about all this stuff that you just... Yep. It would take you so long to figure out just going to the range by yourself every once in a while. So classes are a great way to really get a hold of what's working and what's not. So that's why I can't recommend training enough, because you're not only getting the skill development of working with a professional that's teaching you different things that you might not know, but that shakedown that you're getting with the gear is just so important too.
Yep.
So
I think there's a lot of times in your head where you think, this is the thing I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Like with this 10 round, I'll be fine with this mag. Yeah. And then it's like, no, I'm getting something different.
And you don't want to find out under, the wrong situation that's a factor.
Exactly.
So let's say you go to a competition or something like that.
Yeah, you're shooting the brawl.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Not a good time to figure it out.
You don't want to be brawling when you find out. Another thing that I use that I really like are these Otis ripcords. This is the 264 ripcord, if you want the specific one that I'm using, and that's the best for 6.5. It's the closest caliber to it.
So were you guys cleaning?
We did. I mean, it's not like we got a lesson on cleaning, but I definitely cleaned my gun before I shot because it had been a while. And honestly, I put it up filthy, and I just said I'm just going to clean it before.
I didn't know how often you needed to clean between rounds.
I wouldn't say between rounds. I should clean it now.
Okay.
Just because I'm done with class.
But you did all 221 that you shot.
Yeah. I never
without a problem.
I never cleaned it. Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah, and I mean, you could always pull the ripcord back through it if you were concerned. But honestly, I think, I don't know. There's something to be said about the rifling getting dirty. Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's a lot of different theories of thought, and I'm not really going to go into that, honestly, just out of the sake of brevity.
Yeah,
but
if you're cleaning, you like the ripcord.
Because I'm known for brevity, so, Anyway, what I did find out when I was using that 10-round mag is that I really wanted one of these little side saddle things with these 2-round deals. So this is made by Short Action Precision. It's a piece of hook and loop, basically. So one side is sticky, so you can stick it onto the side of your rifle, and it really just kind of holds 2 extra rounds at the ready right there.
See, that surprises me. I never would think that would be a beneficial thing.
I've seen these before, and I'm always like, I mean, why would I? I mean, I get it. You know, you run out of ammo, but I'm always of the opinion of that's why I have an extra mag in my pocket to go to.
Sure.
But however, when your mag messes up, it would have been faster for me to grab a round off the gun, throw it into the bolt on when a magazine's in it, and just throw the bolt forward.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
I could have kept shooting because there were a lot of different timed events we were doing, especially when it came time to a little, friendly competition we had at the end. We were doing a lot of stuff for time.
So 2 rounds could have made a big difference.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I could have got 2 more hits that I didn't otherwise get.
Yeah.
And Jason might not have beat me. And would have been first place instead of second place.
That's okay. You're not sour about it.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So another thing that I really love that I took is this little, I wouldn't even call it a shemagh because it's not a shemagh, but it's like a veil, I guess you could call it. It's woven. I'm not really sure where I got it from, but I have had it for it, and it's starting to stink. Smell it.
It looks like fishnet.
Well, obviously my sweat's all over it. It really smells. I need to wash this. But yeah, it looks like a fishnet. But in Texas, sometimes the sun can bake you even though it's not hot. It hasn't officially turned into summer yet here, but even the spring can be hot in times. And, when it's 80 degrees outside and you're under the sun with little wind, it really sucks.
Especially with like all day exposure.
So this kind of helps when you're down in a prone position or another position to help keep the sun off your face and your neck and things like that too. So I've tried wearing a boonie hat, which I even brought a boonie hat with me on this, and I wore it for like one little iteration of us going out, and I'm like, okay, I'm done with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it didn't happen. I just wore a ball cap basically, and then put my ear pro over that. We had to wear ear pro because everybody had suppressors except for Mark. So one guy had a suppressor, and
one guy ruined the fun.
Oh yeah, he caught a lot of crap too. But anyway, pretty interesting. Yeah, my suppressor worked out really well. This was really the first time that I've gotten a full dope range on a gun with a suppressor, because there is some shift that happens when you put on a suppressor, so you really can't trust your dope after that. So it was good to have dope now on the suppressor, but I've got a dead air can on it, and I loved it. It was neat to hear, because I actually had somebody else shoot my gun for a little bit too, and it was neat to hear everybody's gun and what the actual volume level was on a suppressed firearm. And JB was shooting an OBR, a LaRue OBR, and he had a mini can on his, and that crap was still loud.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't loud enough to where you needed ear pro standing behind him, but it was like,
and what was the caliber on his?
308.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
That OBR is a 308.
Yep.
So he was shooting gold medal match, like the federal gold medal match 308 ammo.
So definitely a benefit to a longer suppressor.
The Lord's 308.
Yeah, on a 308.
Yeah. But there's a lot of things I swear by gear wise, and I think that federal gold medal match is a pretty good standard. I'm really leaning towards this 140 grain ELD being the Lord's 6.5 Creedmoor round, but honestly, there's a lot of schools that thought about reloading, and I just haven't got into that yet. I just reload out of the box, and I don't know. I've been saving my brass because I thought one day I'm going to reload, but honestly, who knows? I'm not sure.
But leaning towards probably no.
Leaning towards possibly not. I'm not sure. Another thing that was big too. Drop something. Oh, another thing that was big too is a shooting mat. I picked this up on my last rifles only trip, which, believe it or not, it's been 3 years since I've been back there. I didn't even think it had been that long, but that's how long it's been. It's basically just 1000D, and they've got a coated material on it, like a ballistic can or ballistic nylon on the back of it. But it's a pretty good full-size mat. It folds down pretty compact. It's not the lightest thing in the world. However, it's easy to deploy and fold back up, so that's what I liked about it. It's not really that padded, but it's better than putting my elbows on the ground, and it's better than not having a shooting mat like JB.
No, he had an extreme lightweight shooting mat made by Hefty.
Yeah. He forgot his shooting mat, and he decided he was going to use a black Hefty trash bag, and it didn't work out so well for him. He's like, my elbows are sticky.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise.
And it kept blowing up onto his head. It's pretty funny. Anyway, that worked out well. I went through like bag hell. So like
it
rear,
looks like
rear
you
bag.
got.
Well, I picked up another couple bags because I've never really been completely happy with the 2 bags that I had before. So I've got this really smaller bag, and it's probably like a 5x7 bag, but it's heavier because it's got these, I don't know, beads in it. It's like a poly bead.
And so this is a rear bag, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and the purpose of a rear bag is to stabilize the stock of a gun while you're trying to, engage the target you're shooting at, because you want it to be as still as possible. You want to be able to put your crosshairs on that target at the exact point you want to shoot it. You want to be able to close your eyes, take a breath in and out, and you want to open your eyes, and you still want to be on the same spot. So the more sturdy you can build that support with your bag is obviously helps out when it comes to successive shots, And that's, when I was talking about making those successive shots over and over again, that's kind of a testament to how well my platform was built, or how stable I was in the position I was in. So I experimented with kind of getting this larger bag too. This is made by Weebad. It's probably like an 8x10 if I had to guess size.
Around the size of a piece of paper.
And this is stuff with different materials, so it's lighter weight,
but larger.
Yeah, I think this is the thing that I've probably found the best out of anything. This is also a Weebad bag.
It's like a U-shaped.
Yeah, it looks almost like a. I don't know. It looks like a fortune cookie.
Like
I don't know. I think that's honestly what they call them.
Oh, okay.
It looks like a fortune cookie, or like a Pac-Man. But the idea is you set it on the ground and your buttstock kind of goes in that V that gets created. It gives you a little more stability.
It's an interesting concept.
But yeah, your offhand when you're shooting almost kind of grips the bag and can contort it different ways, so you're kind of primed in your position that you're in. But I found this bag to kind of be a good all-around bag for me, even though it's heavier. It has those poly beads in it, and there's a lot of them. So I'd say that probably weighs like a pound or two.
At least, yeah.
At least maybe
probably
2
a little
pounds.
under 2 pounds, but yeah,
that's 2 to 3 probably if I had to guess.
Which would add up quick. Well, but you also have that 6.5 Creedmoor
USPS scale on this one, probably 2 to 3 pounds.
Comparing the weight of your gun, you probably wouldn't even feel it.
No, the gun's pretty damn heavy. Yeah. Which kind of brings me to the pack, and I've been experimenting with different packs, and if you've heard different gear tastings in the past, I've always been a huge proponent of the Alice pack, but my beef with the Alice pack is that when you carry a precision rifle or long gun with it, you really have to strap it sideways on the pack. So I've just never been, and it's something everybody did at the Man with Sniper Challenge, but I've never been comfortable with a gun, no matter what, no matter if the bolt was completely out of it. I don't like pointing that gun at people that are walking by me. I've just never ever been
flagging everybody out here.
Yeah, and it was a common occurrence in Mammoth, and it's something just did not sit well with me every time. So I really like this pack that I got sent for evaluation. It's an EXO Mountain Gear pack, and they reached out to me after some Mammoth stuff that I did and said, "Hey, do you want to try one of our packs?" And I said, "Sure, I'll give it a shot." And this is probably the biggest shakedown I've had with it yet, because I was supposed to do Mammoth last year and it just didn't happen. I had some other stuff come up, family wise, but this was a pretty good test, because we were rucking out with some weight, as well as moving to different shooting positions and places around the property there at Rifles Only. So it was good to have the weight on my back, and I'd say with the gun in this configuration that I have it in, I'd probably say the pack was between 60 or so pounds, because I had all the ammo with me. I said, I'm just going to load this thing down to the hilt and I'm going to see what happens. So I probably had a good 60 pounds on my back with it, and the waist belt for it is really, really comfortable. So that was one of the best things about it, is just it's an external frame, but it looks like an internal frame. So
it does a good job of putting the weight on the hips?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's well, I say external frame. I guess I'd still call this an internal frame, but it's a frame. It's an actual frame. It's a metal frame. So it's it's contoured.
Very structured.
Yeah, but it's built well. It also has these pads that kind of help push the pack off your back, so it creates an airflow channel too.
So you don't get that sweaty back.
Yeah. So it's probably like Drylex material that's in here, but it's also a convertible pack too, so it was made for hunting proprietarily. I'm sorry, I keep moving away from the mic, but I'm trying to look at the pack too. But so what it does too is it opens up almost like a U. You can unstrap it, and you can. It's made for putting stuff between the frame and the actual pack itself. So if you can imagine that, it's almost like there's a void between the pack and the frame itself that can flex. So you could actually put, meat or an animal or something like that between that and actually carry it with the pack. So it's meant to carry a lot of weight, which I like. Pretty much every zipper on the external portion of the pack is waterproof, which I like. But I still kept stuff like my rain gear and spare clothing, in a waterproof stuff sack inside of it, and that's just, I'll always do that.
Never hurts to be a little bit paranoid.
No matter how waterproof a pack is, I'm always going to do that.
Yep.
Because wet rain gear is not, well, you know what I mean. Dry gear is not good. And then some of the other stuff I took that I didn't use were like my survival kit, MPIL, my GPS.
That's that category we talk about where you don't use it, but it's nice to have. Just in case.
And I'm never really going to go anywhere without that kind of stuff, just because I think it's kind of fundamental to carry things like that. We weren't that far away from civilization as a whole, but still, I'm kind of paranoid about that. Something I did find really interesting is that our slimline pouch, our EDC slimline pouch, it works amazingly well for a 10-round mag. So the elastic that's on the pouch it's just phenomenal. Plus the way our mounting system is, you can just loop it through a belt and put it on your waist, and when there's nothing in it, it actually folds down very flat. So what was happening is that it wasn't preventing me from wearing the waist strap on my backpack when we were moving out. So I would just not run a mag in it, and it would fold flat, and it wasn't a big deal. I wouldn't find it digging into my hip or anything. Whereas the other guys were commonly running a 10-round mag on their hip for reloads and stuff with like a Kydex or something like that. There was that HSGI Taco a couple people had too. And even though that's flatter than a piece of Kydex, it still sticks out enough to where it would dig into your hip.
I ran into that issue with the ITW Fast Mags.
Yeah.
It is when it's empty, it still takes up the exact same amount of space. So that's definitely a case for kind of soft-sided pouches.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, we've been manufacturing this pouch for years, and I've just never used it for that purpose, and it just kind of dawned on me on this trip that I should take it and try to implement it. And sure as hell, it was great.
That's awesome.
And then, of course, I've got the Lord's pencil, the Statler, however you pronounce it.
How does the Lord pronounce that?
However the Lord pronounces
this
pencil.
blue pen that starts with an S.
Yeah, it's the best pencil out on the market. I'll make sure it's in the episode intel, just so you know what it is. I won't spend too much time on it because I keep talking about it over and over again. Right. Also, my Loa Renegade boots are the Lord's boots, so I will continue to wear these probably until they stop making them, which I hope is never. But they're the leather-lined boots. I swear by them. Can't say enough good things about them. I was wearing Darn Tough socks as well, and I really have enjoyed those. Yeah, I float still between Smart Wool and Darn Tough, but I keep coming back to those Darn Tough socks that I've been wearing.
Great.
That there may be one pair of them or two pairs of them buried somewhere on the Mammoth course when I was trying.
You can only hope that it grows more socks.
Yep. Lord's headlamp. As well, this Princeton Tech I really love, the 123. We've talked about that before, so I'll just make sure it's in the episode intel. But I mean, that's really the large part of the gear that I took. I've also got these fix-it stick set, which was really important when it came to like resetting my zero and things like that. And there's also this set that I have called the Wheeler level, and that's for like say that 3 times. It's for setting the level on your scope if you had to fix it. And Jason had a problem with his scope, so I was glad I had that for him to be able to use. But the fix-it sticks are great because what they have, it's kind of like a mini torque wrench. So each of these bits has a different kind of torque setting on it, so which is important for different aspects of the gun, like scope mounts and things like that. So when you're adjusting things, you want to make sure you know the correct setting for those.
Cool.
And then the sling that Rifles Only makes is amazing as well, and it clips into spots on my gun. I have these little QD mounts on my gun that it clips into. It does have this Cobra buckle release on it, but I don't find myself ever using that. I mean, it's more of a cutaway if I had to, but it's got a huge bungee in the back of it, which...
Yeah, it looks like a really strong bungee.
Yeah, it seems like overkill, but it's really great for those non-standard shooting positions because you can take it and, you're holding the gun, with your support side, and you almost engage the strap. So you're actually pulling against the strap.
So putting some tension in it.
And that bungee creates tension, which helps you hold the gun better. It's more level, it's more stable of a platform.
I could definitely see that too, because with a static strap, you're pushing into your body, and you couldn't get the kind of grip that you could. Mm-hmm. That's a great idea.
Yeah, so that's kind of the deal with the sling, and I can't say enough good things about that too. And of course, they're teaching different sling methods, and obviously they're pimping out their sling when they're doing that at Rifles Only, but it's because it works.
Yeah.
It's not just we want you to use our slings so you understand what you're missing. But anyway, the pack, I don't know if I mentioned it, but it's got kind of a scabbard holder on the bottom of the outside of it. So what I really like about the pack is that I can hold my gun vertically on the outside of the pack. So it's really the first thing that I grab whenever you get to somewhere to set up anyway.
Okay, so you put it on the outside?
Yeah, so the pack zips up.
I didn't know if you would run it inside that U or not.
No,
okay,
you could.
Cool. Okay.
You could run it
I
in
wasn't
that.
sure how it interfaced.
It's just harder because of the way the pack's built to get to that U easily. So
makes sense.
It's better to run on the scabbard thing on the outside.
Like you said, it's the first thing you grab, which is a great point.
Yeah. And you've got these straps that kind of go over the outside of the pack that are adjustable, so that worked really well to kind of hold the tension on the gun on the outside of the pack. So
cool.
And I started taping it up with some 100-mile-an-hour tape, so now it's a little bit better in terms of, how I've been configuring it.
The Lord's tape.
Yep, Lord's tape. Also ran a tourniquet pouch on the outside of the offhand shoulder strap.
Which thankfully you didn't have to use.
Yes, which thankfully I did not have to use. But yeah, it's a good pack. I'm really stoked about it, and I've always been a huge Alice pack proponent, but I will not hesitate to use this in the future at an event. And matter of fact, I feel like it's gonna be my go-to at those events too. The one thing though that it doesn't have is it doesn't have the capacity that an Alice pack has. Mm-hmm. However, because of that, U shape to hold things at in the middle, you could always just take some stuff sacks and put things like the clothing and, as long as they're waterproof stuff sacks, into that compartment there and kind of create your own space. You don't really have to have everything on the inside if you're, properly waterproofing it with a stuff sack. So anyway, that's just a little bit of the gear that I had to have. I had to have some Howard Late Ear Pro just for Mark, but those worked really well too. So, and Kestrel was good. Just a quick shout out to Kestrel. I really like the ballistic calculations that they have with the applied ballistics in the new Kestrel. So I was able to check DA as well as kind of get a ballistic calculation. But I found that as I started getting out into distance, it wasn't matching up as much as it was at shorter distances. So it might have been because of the suppressor, but I really don't feel that was what was causing it. It's just, shooting is not an exact science. You got to believe the bullet, and that's what Rifles Only always says. So, even though this can get you an approximation of, the dope or the elevation and that you need to dial, again, we're always holding for wind at Rifles Only. We don't dial for wind. So the elevation that you're setting on the gun is always going to be kind of up in the air, but the closer that you can get through the dope that you build in a specific area with a specific kind of ammo is just going to get you closer to that. So, yeah.
Awesome.
That's some of the gear.